If you think you know what betrayal looks like, wait until you hear what happened to Adunni on her 45th birthday. Hit that subscribe button because this story will leave you speechless. The champagne glass shattered against the marble floor of the Grand Palm Hotel in Lagos, Nigeria. Adunni Okoro stood frozen in the doorway of the presidential suite she had paid for, watching her fiancé Emeka thrust into her youngest sister Chioma on the king-size bed. "Oh God, yes!" Chioma's moans filled the room as Emeka gripped her waist, completely oblivious to the audience they had gained. Adunni's hands trembled as she held her phone, the video already recording for 30 seconds. At 45, she had given Emeka everything: her body, her heart, her money, and her trust. The diamond engagement ring on her finger suddenly felt like a noose around her soul. "Harder, baby," Chioma whispered, her legs wrapped around the man who was supposed to marry Adunni in 3 weeks. The room key card fell from Adunni's other hand, clattering on the marble. Both lovers froze. Emeka's eyes met Adunni's in the mirror across the room. His face drained of color as he scrambled to pull the white hotel sheet over their naked bodies. "Adunni, I can explain," he stammered, his voice breaking. "Explain." Adunni's voice was deadly calm, but her chest heaved with rage. "Explain how you're screwing my sister in the hotel room I booked for our pre-wedding celebration." Chioma sat up slowly, her braids cascading over her shoulders. At 28, she was everything Adunni felt she wasn't anymore: young, firm, and apparently irresistible to the man she loved. "Sister, it's not what it looks like," Chioma said, but her smirk betrayed her words. "Really?" Adunni held up a phone. "Because my video says otherwise." Emeka lunged forward, desperate. "Delete that." "You can't." "I can't what?" Adunni stepped backward into the hallway. "I can't expose a man who took my business loan money, my car, and my dignity, the man who promised to love me forever." "Please, Adunni," Emeka begged, wrapping the sheet around his waist. "We can work this out. I made a mistake." "A mistake?" Adunni laughed bitterly. "A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. This is a choice. You chose her." Chioma finally spoke up, her voice dripping with venom. "Maybe if you weren't so desperate and clingy, your man wouldn't need someone younger to satisfy him." The words hit Adunni like physical blows. Every insecurity she'd battled about dating at 45, every whispered comment about being too old for love, every doubt about her worth came flooding back. "You know what, Chioma?" Adunni's voice grew stronger. "You can have him. But first, you're both going to pay for what you've done to me." She turned and walked toward the elevator, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor with purpose. "Where are you going?" Emeka called after her. Adunni pressed the elevator button and looked back at them one last time, to show Lagos exactly who you really are. As the elevator doors closed, she saw Emeka frantically searching for his clothes while Chioma sat on the bed looking pleased with herself. The elevator descended, and Adunni's reflection stared back at her from the polished steel doors. Tay-streaked makeup couldn't hide the fire building in her dark eyes. She pulled out her phone and opened her WhatsApp status. The video was already uploaded. Her contact list showed 847 people: friends, family, business associates, church members, and Emeka's colleague from the bank where he worked. Her finger hovered over the send button. Will Adunni destroy their reputations with one click? What happens when a woman who's been pushed too far decides to push back? Stay tuned for next chapter to see how far she's willing to go for revenge. Before we continue with Adunni's revenge, make sure you're subscribed because this story gets more intense with every chapter. You won't believe what she does next. The notification sounds from Adunni's phone were relentless as she sat in her Mercedes-Benz in the hotel parking lot. Ping, ping, ping. Her WhatsApp status had exploded across Lagos like wildfire. "Jesus Christ, Adunni!" Her best friend Folek's voice crackled through the phone speaker. "I just saw your status. Are you okay?" Adunni watched as the view count climbed. 156 views, 201 views, 298 views. Each number represented someone in Lagos who now knew the truth about Emeka Okafor, the respected bank manager, and her sister Chioma. "I'm fine," Adunni said, though her hand still shook. "Actually, I'm better than fine." "Go. This is going to be everywhere by morning. The comments are already going crazy." Adunni scrolled through her phone. The comments section was a battlefield. Chai, these men have no shame. Adunni, I'm so sorry, sister. That man is wicked. Wait, isn't that Kimi from the beauty salon on Victoria Island? Emeka Okafor from First Bank? His wife needs to see this. Adunni's heart stopped. His wife? Adunni. Folek's voice was gentle. You need to come to my house. Now, there's something you need to know about Emeka. 20 minutes later, Adunni sat in Folek's living room in Lekki, staring at a Facebook profile on her friend's laptop. Mrs. Chioma Okafor, married to Emeka Okafor since 2019, mother of 2 young children. He has been married for 6 years, Folek said softly. I hired a private investigator after I saw how much money you were giving him. I was going to tell you tomorrow. The room spun around Adunni. The engagement ring, the wedding plans, the business loan she'd taken out to help him start his consultancy, all of it was built on lies. His wife, does she know about me? The investigator says she thinks he traveled for work. He has an apartment in Victoria Island that he told her was for business meetings. Adunni's phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Is this Adunni Okoro? The woman's voice was shaky, emotional. Yes, who is this? This is Chioma Okafor. I think my husband has been lying to both of us. The 2 women met at a quiet cafe in Ikoyi an hour later. Chioma was beautiful, younger than Adunni, with tired eyes and worry lines that spoke of sleepless nights wondering where her husband really was. He told me he was working late, Chioma said, stirring her coffee with trembling hands. Every weekend, every holiday. I thought he was trying to build a better life for our family. He told me he was divorced, Adunni replied. Said his ex-wife took everything in the settlement. They compared stories, and the picture that emerged was devastating. Emeka had been living a double life for 3 years. He had an apartment for each woman, a different phone for each relationship, and elaborate lies to keep both worlds separate. The business loan you mentioned, Chioma said. How much? 15 million naira. Chioma's face went pale. He told me he got a promotion and raised his salary. We bought a new house in Abuja with that exact amount. Adunni's phone buzzed. A message from Emeka. I'm coming to your house. We need to talk. Don't do anything else stupid. She showed Chioma the message. He's getting desperate, Chioma observed. Good. You're not angry with me. Angry with you? Chioma laughed bitterly. Sister, you're as much a victim as I am. But now that we know the truth, what are you thinking? Chioma's eyes hardened. I'm thinking it's time Emeka learned what happens when he betrays 2 strong women. Adunni's phone rang again. This time it was her sister Kimi. Adunni, you need to take down that video right now. Kimi's voice was panicked. My boss saw it. I might lose my job. Good, Adunni said coldly. This is not fair. You're ruining my life over one mistake. One mistake? You've been sleeping with my fiancé for how long, Kimi? Silence. How long? Adunni demanded. 6 months, Kimi whispered. Adunni looked at Chioma, who had heard everything. The other woman nodded grimly. 6 months, Adunni repeated, while I was planning our wedding, while I was taking loans to support his fake business. I never meant for it to go this far. But it did, and now you're going to face the consequences. Adunni hung up and turned to Chioma. Are you ready to make them both pay? Chioma smiled for the first time that evening. Sister, I've been ready for 3 years. 2 betrayed women, 1 cheating man, and a sister with no shame. What kind of revenge are they planning? Next chapter will show you how far betrayed women will go when they work together. If you think you know how this revenge story ends, think again. Hit that like button because Adunni and Chioma are about to declare war, and you don't want to miss a single moment. Adunni's phone hadn't stopped ringing for 2 hours. Emeka's name flashed on the screen for the 15th time as she and Chioma sat in her apartment in Victoria Island, planning their next move. Let him sweat, Chioma said, sipping the wine they'd opened to calm their nerves. My mother always said the best revenge is served cold. The apartment felt different now, contaminated by Emeka's lies. Every corner held memories of his deception. The couch where he'd promised to marry her. The kitchen where he cooked dinner while his wife waited for him at home. The bedroom where he'd whispered sweet lies after making love to her. I need to know everything, Adunni said. Every lie, every scheme, every woman. Chioma pulled out a folder thick with documents. The private investigator was thorough. There are 3 other women. Adunni. 3. The photograph spilled across the coffee table like a deck of cards revealing a losing hand. Emeka with different women at different restaurants, hotels, and events. Always the same charming smile, always the same lies. This one is Patience, a widow from Abuja. He borrowed $2 million from her for a medical emergency. Chioma pointed to a photo of Emeka with an elegant older woman. This is Blessing, owns a boutique in Port Harcourt. She bought him that BMW he drives. Adunni felt sick. And this one? Fund me. She's a doctor in Ibadan. Apparently, they're engaged too. The room fell silent except for the sound of Lagos traffic below and Adunni's phone still buzzing with Emeka's desperate calls. 5 women, Adunni whispered. He was engaged to 2 of us, married to you, and stealing from all of us. The investigator estimates has taken over 40 million naira from various women over the past 3 years. Adunni's doorbell rang, followed by aggressive knocking. Adunni, open this door. Emeka's voice echoed through the apartment. I know you're in there. The 2 women looked at each other. Should we? Chioma asked. Let's hear what lies he tells when he's desperate. Adunni opened the door to find Emeka disheveled and frantic. His usually perfect appearance was ruined, shirt wrinkled, tie loose, sweat beading on his forehead. Thank God, he rushed past her into the apartment. We need to fix this before. He stopped dead when he saw Chioma sitting calmly on the couch. The investigator's photo spread in front of her like evidence in a courtroom. Hello, husband, Chioma said with icy politeness. Emeka's face went through a series of expressions. Shock, fear, anger, then desperate calculation. Chioma, what are you doing here? Comparing notes with your other fiancé. Emeka looked between the 2 women like a trapped animal. Look, I can explain everything. This is all a misunderstanding. Which part? Adunni asked. The part where you're married with children, or the part where you stole 15 million naira from me. I didn't steal anything. That was an investment. In your wife's house in Abuja. Chioma stood up, her voice rising. The house you bought with Adunni's money while telling me you got a promotion. Emeka ran his hands through his hair. Okay, yes, I made mistakes. But I love both of you. Both of us. Adunni laughed harshly. What about Patience, Blessing, and Funmi? Do you love them too? The color drained from his face as he saw the photographs. How did you get these? Chioma picked up a photo of Emeka kissing another woman. The same way we found out about your Mercedes you bought with Blessing's money, or your Rolex you bought with Patience's money, or the jewelry you gave me that you bought with money you stole from Funmi. Emeka collapsed into a chair, defeated. What do you want from me? Everything, Adunni said simply. We want everything you stole, every lie exposed, every woman you've hurt to know the truth. I don't have the money anymore. Then you'll get it, Chioma said. You have 1 week to return every naira you stole from every woman, starting with the 15 million you took from Adunni. That's impossible. The money is tied up in investments, houses, cars. Then sell them, Adunni said. Sell everything. Emeka looked up at them with growing panic. And if I don't? Chioma smiled coldly and held up a phone. Then every bank in Nigeria, every business contact you have, every social media platform, and every news outlet in Lagos will know exactly who Emeka Okafor really is. You can't destroy my career. Watch us, Adunni said. You have 6 days left. The clock is ticking. Emeka stood up, his desperation turning to rage. You think you can threaten me? I have connections. I have power. You had power, Chioma corrected. But power built on lies crumbles quickly. Ask your boss at First Bank. He's already received an anonymous email with very interesting photos. Emeka's phone buzzed. He looked at it and his face went white. That's him calling now, Adunni observed. You should probably answer. Explain to him why his trusted manager has been running romance scams on the side. As Emeka's phone continued to ring, both women watched him realize that his carefully constructed world was collapsing faster than he could control. 6 days, Emeka, Chioma repeated, or we expose everything. The hunter becomes a hunted, but Emeka isn't going down without a fight. What happens when a desperate man decides to play dirty? Next chapter will shock you with how low he's willing to go. Subscribe now, because what Emeka does next will prove that desperate men are dangerous men. You won't believe how he tries to turn the tables on Adunni and Chioma. The threatening text message arrived at 3 a.m., jolting Adunni awake. Delete everything or your family will pay. I know where your mother lives in a Barton. I know where your business is. Back off. Adunni's hand shook as she read the message 3 times. Emeka had never shown this side of himself before. Cold, calculating, dangerous. She called Chioma immediately. He threatened you too. Chioma's voice was tight with fear. Your children? Yes. Said he knows their school schedule, their after-school activities. I've been awake all night. Adunni dressed quickly and drove to Chioma's house in Abuja. The morning traffic gave her time to think, and her fears slowly transformed into rage. How dare he threaten innocent people? At Chioma's house, she found the other woman pacing the living room while her 2 young children ate breakfast, oblivious to the storm brewing around them. Mommy, why did Daddy's picture disappear from your phone? 7-year-old Kelechi asked innocently. Chioma forced a smile. Daddy's traveling for work, baby. After the children left for school with their nanny, Chioma collapsed on the couch. Maybe we should stop, Adunni. I can't put my babies at risk. That's exactly what he wants, Adunni said. He's trying to scare us into silence. Chioma's phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Okafor. The voice was professional, serious. This is Inspector Adelik from the Lagos State Police. We need to speak with you about your husband. 20 minutes later, Inspector Adelik sat in Chioma's living room, his uniform crisp and his expression grim. We've received multiple complaints about Mr. Emeka Okafor, he said, consulting his notebook. Fraud, identity theft, and now criminal threats. Adunni leaned forward. Criminal threats. 3 women have reported receiving threatening messages after they tried to recover money he allegedly stole. 1 woman's car was vandalized. Another found her business windows broken. He's done this before, Chioma realized. Many times. Mr. Okafor is what we call a professional romance scammer. He targets successful women, builds emotional relationships, then systematically drains their resources. But he works at First Bank, Adunni protested. He has a legitimate job. Inspector Adelik shook his head. Not anymore. First Bank terminated his employment yesterday after internal investigations revealed he was using client information to identify potential victims. The room fell silent. We need your help, the inspector continued. Both of you are in unique positions. You have evidence, access to his activities, and victim testimonies. Will you help us build a case? Adunni looked at Chioma. What about his threats? We'll provide protection, and frankly, helping us is your best defense. Mr. Okafor is cornered, and cornered animals are dangerous. But if he's in custody, he can't hurt anyone. Chioma's phone buzzed. A message from Emeka. Meet me at the Federal Palace Hotel tonight at 8 p.m. Alone. Come or your son's school gets a very unpleasant visitor. She showed the message to Inspector Adelik. This is perfect, he said. He's escalating, which means he's making mistakes. Mrs. Okafor, you'll meet him as requested, but you won't be alone. We'll have the hotel surrounded. I'm not using Chioma as bait, Adunni protested. I'll do it, Chioma said quietly. This monster has controlled my life for 6 years with lies, and now is threatening my children. It ends tonight. That evening, Chioma sat in the hotel lobby wearing a wire while plainclothes officers positioned themselves throughout the building. Adunni watched from the bar, her heart pounding. Emeka arrived precisely at 8 p.m., but he wasn't alone. A tall, muscular man accompanied him, clearly hired muscle. Chioma, Emeka's voice was cold as he sat across from her. I'm glad you came to your senses. What do you want, Emeka? I want everything destroyed. The photos, the videos, the police reports. Everything. And if I don't... Emeka nodded to his companion. Then accidents start happening. To you, to your children, to your friend Adunni, to anyone who knows too much. You're threatening to hurt children. I'm threatening to protect myself by any means necessary. Chioma's voice was steady, but Adunni could see her hands trembling. What about the money you stole? The other women you've hurt? That's business. This is survival. Through her earpiece, Chioma heard Inspector Adalek's voice. We have enough. Give us a signal. Chioma stood up slowly. Emeka, you're right about one thing. This is about survival. Good. I knew you'd see reason. My survival. My children's survival. And the survival of every woman you'll never hurt again. She touched her earring. The signal. Police officers materialized from everywhere at once. Emeka's hired muscle reached for something in his jacket, but 3 officers had him on the ground before he could draw whatever weapon he carried. Emeka Okafor, you under arrest for fraud, extortion, and making criminal threats. Inspector Delik announced as the cuffs clicked into place. This isn't over. Emeka shouted as they dragged him away. You think you won, but I have friends, connections. Your connections can't help you now, Chioma said, her voice stronger than it had been in years. As the police led Emeka away, Adunni joined Chioma in the lobby. The 2 women embraced, exhausted but victorious. Is it really over? Chioma asked. The police case is just beginning, Adunni replied. But for us, yes, it's over. Chioma's phone buzzed. A message from her sister Kimi. I saw the news. Emeka's arrest is all over social media. I'm sorry, sister. I'm so sorry. Emeka is behind bars, but his arrest is just beginning. What happens when the other women he scammed learn they are not alone? Next chapter reveals a shocking network of victims and the justice they're about to unleash. Before we dive into what happens next, smash that subscribe button because this story proves that women supporting women can move mountains. You won't believe how many lives Adunni and Chioma are about to change. The Lagos courtroom was packed 3 weeks later as Emeka's preliminary hearing began. Adunni sat in the front row next to Chioma, but they weren't alone. 8 other women filled the benches behind them, all victims of Emeka's elaborate schemes. I can't believe there are so many of us, whispered Patience, the widow from Abuja whom Emeka had swindled out of 2 million naira. Dr. Funmi from Ibadan squeezed Adunni's shoulder. Thank you for being brave enough to speak up first. I've been carrying this shame for 2 years. The prosecutor, Mrs. Adebayo, was a sharp woman in her 50s who had built her career prosecuting financial crimes. She stood before the judge with a thick folder of evidence. Your Honor, what we have here is not a simple case of romance fraud. This is a sophisticated criminal enterprise that has systematically targeted successful women across Nigeria. Emeka sat at the defendant's table in an orange prison jumpsuit, his expensive suits and charming smile replaced by the hollow look of a man whose world had collapsed. His lawyer, Mr. Benson, looked uncomfortable as the charges were read. The defendant used his position at First Bank to identify wealthy female clients, then created elaborate personas to seduce and defraud them. Mrs. Adebayo continued. The total amount stolen exceeds 68 million naira. Judge Okonkwo, a stern woman with silver hair, reviewed the documents. Mr. Benson, how does your client plead? Not guilty to all charges, Your Honor. A murmur of disbelief rippled through the courtroom. Blessing, the boutique owner from Port Harcourt, stood up angrily. How can he plead not guilty? I have bank transfers, text messages, photos. Order. Judge Okonkwo banged her gavel. Mrs. Blessing Wosu, Your Honor, that man destroyed my business, my marriage, my life. As Blessing spoke, Adunni saw her sister Kimi slip into the back of the courtroom. Their eyes met, and Kimi looked away in shame. The hearing lasted 4 hours. Victim after victim testified about Emeka's methods. The love bombing, the urgent financial crises, the promises of marriage, the elaborate lies about his life and circumstances. He told me his mother was dying of cancer and needed surgery, testified Rose, a successful trader from Kano. I gave him 5 million naira. His mother is alive and well in Enugu. During a recess, the women gathered in the courthouse hallway. What started as a support group had evolved into something more powerful, a network of survivors determined to prevent other women from suffering the same fate. "We need to do something beyond just this court case," Dr. Funmi said. "There are probably hundreds of women who don't even know they are victims yet." Adunni had an idea. What if we created a platform? A way for women to share stories, check on potential partners, support each other. Like a database, Patience added. Pictures, names, known scam techniques. Chioma pulled out her phone. "I registered a domain name last night. sistersunited.ng. I was thinking we could build a website, maybe start a foundation." "With what money?" Rose asked practically. "Most of us lost everything to that bastard." "Actually," Adunni said slowly, "I might have a solution for that too." That evening, they met at Adunni's apartment. The investigator who had helped expose Emeka sat with them, along with a young tech entrepreneur named David who specialized in online safety platforms. "Here's what I found," the investigator said, spreading out new documents. Emeka didn't spend all the money he stole. He invested heavily in real estate, luxury cars, and offshore accounts. If the court case goes our way, asset recovery could return a significant portion of your losses. "How much?" Chioma asked. "Potentially 40 to 50 million naira once everything is liquidated." David leaned forward. "That's enough to fund a proper platform. Not just a website, but a full organization. Background check services, financial literacy programs, legal aid for victims." "The question is," Adunni said, "are we all in this together? This isn't just about revenge anymore. This is about protecting other women." One by one, each woman nodded. Dr. Funmi spoke first. "I'm in. I can provide medical and psychological support services." "I'll handle the legal framework," said Mrs. Adebayo, who had joined them after court. "Pro bono, of course." Rose raised her hand. "I know every trader and businesswoman from here to Kano. I can spread the word." As they talked late into the night, planning their organization, Adunni's phone rang. It was her sister Kimi. "Can I come up?" Kimi's voice was small, broken. "I'm in your lobby." Adunni looked at the group of women who had become her sisters in survival. "Should I?" "Let her come," Chioma said. "Maybe it's time for some healing too." When Kimi entered the apartment and saw all the women, she began to cry. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I destroyed my family, helped that monster hurt my own sister. I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want to help, however I can." Silence filled the room. Finally, Patience spoke. "Girl, we've all been fooled by that man. Some of us just got fooled in different ways." Dr. Funmi nodded. "Hurt people, but heal people, heal people." Adunni looked at her younger sister, really looked at her for the first time since the hotel incident. She saw pain, regret, and something else, the possibility of redemption. "Kimi, if you really want to help, I know where you can start." She handed Kimi a laptop. "Help us build a website. Use your story to warn other women. Turn your mistake into protection for someone else." As Kimi nodded through her tears, Adunni realized something profound had happened in that room. They weren't just victims anymore. They were warriors, preparing to change the game for every woman who came after them. From victims to victors, from survivors to saviors. But Emeka still has cards to play from prison, and his final move will test everything these women have built together. Next chapter shows you why the fight is far from over. Hit that notification bell because what happens next proves that even behind bars, a desperate man can still be dangerous. This chapter will have you on the edge of your seat. The letter arrived at Adunni's office exactly 1 month after Emeka's conviction. No return address, but the familiar handwriting made her blood run cold. "Adunni, you think you've won, but this is just beginning. I have information about your father's death that would destroy your family's reputation. Meet me at Kirikiri Maximum Prison this Saturday, or everyone in Lagos will know the truth about how Chief Okoro really died." Adunni's hands trembled as she read the letter twice. Her father had died 5 years ago in what everyone believed was a heart attack. What could Emeka possibly know? She called Chioma immediately. He's trying to manipulate you from prison, Chioma said over the phone. It's what predators do when they lose control. But what if he really knows something? Then we face it together. I'm not letting you go to that prison alone. Saturday morning, Adunni and Chioma sat across from Emeka in the sterile visiting room at Kirikiri prison. Orange jumpsuit, shackled hands, and a coldness in his eyes that hadn't been there during his charming days. You came. Emeka smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I wasn't sure you would. What do you want, Emeka? Adunni asked directly. I want you to shut down that website of yours. Stop the foundation. Stop turning women against men like me. Men like you? Chioma laughed bitterly. You mean criminals? I mean men who understand opportunity when they see it. Adunni leaned forward. What do you supposedly know about my father? Emeka's smile widened. Your precious daddy, the respected Chief Okoro, wasn't as clean as everyone thinks. Did you know he was being investigated for money laundering when he died? Did you know he stole pension funds from his employees? You're lying. Am I? Check with the Economic and Financial Crime Commission. Ask them about the investigation that mysteriously closed after his death. Ask your mother why she suddenly had money to pay off the family debts. Adunni felt the room spinning. Her father had been her hero, a successful businessman who built his construction company from nothing. Even if that were true, Chioma interjected, what does it have to do with anything? Simple, Emeka said. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Adunni took that $15 million loan, knowing she'd never pay it back. She's as much a thief as her father was. That's not true. Adunni stood up. I fully intended to pay back that loan. But you haven't, have you? And now that I'm in prison, you never will. You're using my situation to avoid your debts. The prison guard signaled that visiting time was almost over. Here's what's going to happen, Emeka continued quickly. You shut down sistersunited.ng. You stop your little crusade, and I keep your family secrets buried. Continue this war against me, and I'll make sure everyone knows that the great Chief Okoro was a criminal, and his daughter is following in his footsteps. After they left the prison, Adunni sat in her car, unable to start the engine. You're not seriously considering his demands. Chioma asked, what if he's telling the truth about my father? So what if he is? Your father's actions don't define you, and they definitely don't justify what Emeka did. That evening, Adunni called her mother in Ibadan. Mama, I need to ask you something about Daddy. Silence on the other end. What kind of question, Adunni? Was Daddy being investigated by the EFCC before he died? Her mother's sharp intake of breath told her everything. Who told you this? So it's true. Another long silence. Your father made some mistakes in his business dealings, but he was trying to fix them when he died. He was not a bad man, Adunni. He just got in over his head trying to help people. What kind of mistakes, Mama? He borrowed money from pension funds to keep the company running during the recession. He thought he could pay it back quickly, but... Her voice broke. The stress killed him. Adunni. He died trying to find a way to return every naira. Adunni closed her eyes. How much money? 30 million naira. I used his life insurance and sold properties to pay most of it back after he died. The EFCC closed the case because there was no criminal intent, and the families were compensated. Why didn't you tell me? Because your father made me promise. He didn't want his children to remember him as anything but a good man. After hanging up, Adunni sat in her living room staring at her laptop. The sistersunited.ng website showed 847 registered users, 12 prevented scams, and 3 successful prosecutions of romance fraudsters across Nigeria. Her phone rang. It was Dr. Funmi. Adunni, we have a problem. Someone leaked information about the Foundation's funding sources to the media. They are claiming we're using dirty money from loan defaults. What? Check in AIJNation.com. The article went live an hour ago. Adunni opened the news site and her heart sank. The headline read, Sisters United founder-built charity on unpaid loans and family corruption. The article detailed her unpaid business loan, implied connections between her father's EFCC investigation and the foundation's funding, and suggested that the entire organization was a scam to avoid debt repayment. Her phone immediately started ringing. Reporters, foundation board members, confused donors. This is Emeka, she realized. He has connections, people on the outside doing his bidding. She called an emergency meeting of the foundation's core team. By evening, 7 women sat in her apartment, their faces grim as they read the online attacks. The article is trending, Rose reported. People are sharing it across social media with comments like, "See how the scammer is calling other people scammers. My boss asked me to take leave from the hospital until this blows over," Dr. Funmi said quietly. They don't want any association with controversy. What do we do? Patience asked. Do we fight this or shut down? Chioma stood up. We fight. But first, we need to be completely transparent with each other and the public. She looked at Adunni. Tell them everything. About your father, about the loan, about Emeka's threats. All of it. That will destroy me. Maybe, or maybe it will save you. And more importantly, save this organization. Adunni looked around at the women who had become her sisters. You're asking me to sacrifice everything I built to protect what we've built together. I'm asking you to trust us the way we trusted you, Chioma replied. The room fell silent except for the sound of Lagos traffic, and Adunni's phone still buzzing with calls she wasn't answering. Okay, Adunni said finally, but we do this right. We tell the whole truth, not just parts of it. That night, they worked until dawn, crafting a response that would either save the foundation or destroy it completely. As the sun rose over Lagos, Adunni prepared to make the most important decision of her life. Truth or consequences? Adunni is about to risk everything she's built to protect the women she's come to love. Next chapter will show you what happens when a woman chooses courage over comfort. Make sure you're subscribed because what Adunni does next will restore your faith in the power of truth. This woman is about to show Lagos what real courage looks like. The press conference was scheduled for 2 p.m. at the Lagos Continental Hotel. By 1:30, the conference room was packed with journalists, bloggers, and curious onlookers. News trucks lined the street outside, and social media buzzed with speculation about what Adunni would say. She stood backstage with Chioma, her hand shaking as she reviewed her notes one final time. I can't do this, she whispered. I'm about to destroy my family's reputation. You're about to save it, Chioma corrected. Your father made mistakes, but he wasn't evil. You took a loan you couldn't repay, but you didn't steal it. Emeka wants people to believe that desperation equals criminality. Prove him wrong. At exactly 2 p.m., Adunni walked to the podium. The room fell silent as cameras flashed and phones were raised to record. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adunni Okoro, and I'm here to tell you the complete truth about everything. She took a deep breath and began. 3 months ago, I discovered that my fiancé was cheating on me with my sister. What I didn't know then was that he was also married to another woman, engaged to a third, and had systematically defrauded at least 10 women across Nigeria of over 68 million naira. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some of you have read articles suggesting that I'm also a criminal, that my foundation is built on fraud, and that my family has a history of corruption. Today, I want to address each of these allegations directly. She looked straight into the cameras. My father, Chief Adunni Okoro, made serious mistakes in his business dealings. During the 2015 recession, he borrowed money from employee pension funds to keep his construction company operational. He fully intended to repay these funds and was working with the EFCC to develop a repayment plan when he suffered a fatal heart attack. The room was completely silent now. My mother used his life insurance, sold family properties, and worked for 3 years to ensure every naira was returned to those employees. The EFCC closed the case not because we covered anything up, but because there was no criminal intent and full restitution was made. A reporter called out, "What about your unpaid loan?" I took a 15 million naira business loan to support what I believed was my fiancé's consulting business. That money was used to buy a house for his actual wife in Abuja. When I discovered his deception, he was arrested, and his assets are now frozen pending court proceedings. I am working with a bank to resolve this debt through asset recovery, not avoidance. Another reporter, are you using the foundation to hide money? Every naira that funds Sisters United comes from legitimate sources, primarily donations from survivors and their families. Our books are audited quarterly by PricewaterhouseCoopers, and every financial record is available for public inspection. She paused, looking around the room. But let me tell you what this is really about. 3 months ago, I was a victim. I was ashamed, isolated, and convinced that my pain was mine alone to bear. Then I met other women who had suffered the same betrayal, the same manipulation, the same financial devastation. Her voice grew stronger. Together, we discovered that we weren't isolated cases. We were part of a pattern, victims of a sophisticated criminal who targeted successful women precisely because he knew we would be too embarrassed to speak up. She gestured to the back of the room, where Chioma, Dr. Funmi, Rose, and other Foundation members sat today. These women turned their pain into purpose. In 3 months, Sisters United has prevented 12 women from losing their life savings to romance scammers. We've helped prosecute 3 criminals. We've provided counseling to 4 to 7 victims and financial literacy training to over 300 women. The questions came rapid fire. What's your response to Emeka Okafor's claims? Emeka Okafor is a convicted criminal serving a 7-year sentence for fraud and extortion. He is attempting to destroy our foundation because it threatens his ability to find new victims when he is eventually released. Will you resign from the foundation? Why would I resign from an organization that's saving women from predators? If anything, this attack proves we're doing exactly what we should be doing. A young blogger raised her hand. What advice would you give to women who might be victims right now? Adunni smiled for the first time during the press conference. Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, investigate, ask questions, and most importantly, know that you are not alone. There is no shame in being deceived by a professional deceiver. The shame belongs to the criminal, not the victim. As the press conference ended, Adunni felt lighter than she had in months. Her phone immediately started buzzing, but this time the messages were different. Sister, you are so brave. Thank you for speaking truth to power. I was about to send money to a man I met online. After hearing your story, I did a background check first. He is married with 3 children. You saved me. My daughter was scammed last year. She was too ashamed to tell anyone. I'm bringing her to your next support group meeting. That evening, the foundation team gathered at Adunni's apartment to watch the news coverage. Every major station led with her press conference, and social media had completely shifted in her favor. Look at this, Rose said, scrolling through Instagram comments. Thousands of women sharing their own stories, thanking you for giving them courage to speak up. Dr. Funmi held up her phone. The foundation website crashed from too much traffic. We have over 2,000 new registrations since this afternoon. Chioma hugged Adunni. You did it. You turned an attack into a victory. We did it, Adunni corrected, all of us together. As they celebrated, Adunni's phone rang. Unknown number, but she answered anyway. Is this Adunni Okoro? Yes. This is Commissioner Adeyemi from the Lagos State Police. I'm calling to inform you that Emeka Okafor was found dead in his prison cell this evening. Victory turns to shock in an instant. What really happened to Emeka in that prison cell? Next chapter reveals the truth about his death and the final secrets he was hiding. Before we reveal what really happened to Emeka, hit that subscribe button because this twist changes everything. You won't believe what the police discovered in his cell. The Lagos State Police headquarters buzzed with activity as Adunni and Chioma sat in Commissioner Adeyemi's office the next morning. The official cause of death was listed as suicide, but something about the story didn't add up. He was found hanging in his cell at 11 p.m., Commissioner Adeyemi explained. The guard said he was distraught after watching your press conference on the prison television. That's convenient, Chioma said skeptically. The day after Adunni exposes his manipulation tactics, he suddenly kills himself. That's what we thought too, which is why we conducted a thorough investigation of his cell. The commissioner opened a file folder and spread photographs across his desk. Emeka's prison cell, every inch documented. We found these hidden behind a loose brick in the wall. 3 phones, 2 tablets, and several SIM cards lay in evidence bags. How did he get electronic devices in prison? Adunni asked. Corruption. We've arrested 2 guards and a warden. Emeka was running his operation from inside Kirikiri, coordinating with accomplices on the outside. Commissioner Adeyemi pulled out transcripts of recovered text messages and call logs. He had active romantic relationships with 6 different women while in prison. They were sending him money for legal fees and commissary funds. Total amount, 12 million naira in 3 months. Chioma shook her head in disbelief. Even in prison, he couldn't stop scamming women. But that's not all. The commissioner's expression grew darker. We also found evidence that he was planning something bigger. He showed them printed emails between Emeka and someone identified only as Lagos Boy. The foundation bitches cost us millions. Time for permanent solutions. I know where all of them live, work, and send their kids to school. You sure about this? Heat is already too much. Prison won't hold me forever, but they won't live to see me get out. Adunni felt cold. He was planning to have us killed. It appears so. We're still investigating Lagos Boy, but we believe it's someone from his old network. Someone with resources and no conscience. So his death, Chioma began, might not have been suicide, the commissioner finished. Someone might have silenced him before he could give us more information about his criminal network. Commissioner Adeyemi leaned forward. Ladies, I need to be direct with you. Emeka was part of something larger than romance scamming. We think he was connected to an organized crime syndicate that targets successful African women internationally. His death might mean his associates are cleaning house. The room fell silent except for the hum of the air conditioning and traffic outside. What does that mean for us? Adunni asked. It means you're still in danger. Both of you, and probably the other women from the foundation. That afternoon, Adunni called an emergency meeting of the Sisters United core team. The safe house Commissioner Adeyemi had arranged was a modest apartment in Ikoyi, guarded by plainclothes officers. We have a choice, she told the assembled women. We can go into hiding, shut down the foundation, and hope this blows over. Or we can fight. Dr. Fummi spoke first. Fight how? These people tried to kill a man in maximum security prison. What chance do we have? The same chance we had when we stood up to Emeka, Rose said. None, until we stood together. Patience pulled out her phone. I've been doing research since you called. This Lagos Boy character? I think I know who he is. She showed them a social media profile. Kingsley Okafor, 28, Lagos Island. That's Emeka's younger brother, Chioma realized. He was at our wedding. He's also been arrested twice for cybercrime and one for assault, Patience continued. Currently running a digital marketing agency that the EFCC suspects as a front for online fraud. Adunni studied the photos. Kingsley looked like a younger, more aggressive version of Emeka. Gold chains, expensive cars, and the same predatory smile. He has been posting on Instagram about avenging family honor and making enemies pay, Patience added. So what do we do? Asked Dr. Fummi. Adunni looked around at these women who had become her family. Each one had lost money, dignity, and trust to Emeka's lies. Each one had chosen to transform their pain into protection for other women. We do what we've always done, she said finally. We expose the truth. That evening, they worked with a police tech unit to set up a sting operation. Using one of Emeka's confiscated phones, they would pose as a new victim, drawing Kingsley into revealing his criminal network. As they planned, Adunni realized something profound had happened over the past months. She had started this journey seeking revenge against one cheating man. Now she was part of a sisterhood dedicated to protecting women from an entire criminal enterprise. Are you ready for this? Chioma asked as they prepared for what might be their most dangerous mission yet. Adunni looked at her reflection in the safe house mirror. The broken woman who had stood in that hotel room 6 months ago was gone. In her place was someone stronger, someone who understood that her pain had a purpose. I've been ready my whole life, she said. I just didn't know it until now. The final battle is about to begin, but this time the stakes are life and death. Chapter 9 reveals whether the sisters can outsmart a killer, or if their fight for justice will cost them everything. This is it, the moment that will determine if justice prevails or if evil wins. Make sure you're subscribed because what happens in this chapter will have you holding your breath until the very end. The abandoned warehouse in Apapa was exactly the kind of place where bad things happen to good people. As Adunni sat in the surveillance van with Commissioner Adeyemi, watching Chioma walk toward the building, every instinct screamed that this was a terrible idea. She's wearing a wire, body camera, and GPS tracker. The commissioner assured her, "We have snipers positioned on 3 surrounding buildings and a tactical team ready to move. That won't matter if they kill her before you can react." Through the surveillance feed, they watched Chioma enter the warehouse. She had volunteered to be the bait because Kingsley had specifically requested to meet Emeka's wife to discuss business opportunities. Inside the warehouse, Kingsley Okafor stood with 3 other men, all armed. He looked exactly like his dead brother, but harder, more dangerous. "So you're the famous wife," Kingsley said as Chioma approached. "The one who destroyed my brother's life." "Your brother destroyed his own life," Chioma replied calmly, "and tried to destroy mine in the process. Emeka was building an empire. Do you know how much money we were making before you bitches interfered? Stealing money from innocent women isn't building an empire. It's being a parasite." One of Kingsley's associates whispered something in his ear. He nodded and smiled coldly. "You know what, Chioma? I'm glad you came, because now I can finish what my brother started." In the surveillance van, Commissioner Adeyemi spoke into his radio. "All units, be ready to move on my signal." But something was wrong. The audio from Chioma's wire was crackling, and the video feed was getting interference. "They are jamming our signals," the tech officer reported. Through the static, they heard Kingsley's voice. "Your husband thought he was smart, using women's emotions against them, but he never understood the real game." "What real game?" "The game where we don't just steal money, we steal lives. Your little foundation has been very inconvenient for business. Time to shut it down permanently." The surveillance screens went completely black. "Move! Move! Move!" Commissioner Adeyemi shouted into his radio. But as the tactical team approached the warehouse, explosions rocked the building. The roof collapsed, smoke poured from the windows, and flames began to spread. "Chioma!" Adunni screamed, trying to run toward the building. 2 officers held her back as firefighters arrived and emergency crews swarmed the scene. For 2 agonizing hours, they searched the rubble. When they finally pulled Chioma from the debris, she was unconscious but breathing. Paramedics rushed her to Lagos University Teaching Hospital, while Adunni prayed to every deity she could remember. The wire survived, Commissioner Adeyemi said, holding up a damaged recording device. "We got everything." At the hospital, Adunni sat beside Chioma's bed as doctors worked to stabilize her. Broken ribs, smoke inhalation, and a concussion, but she was alive. When Chioma finally opened her eyes 6 hours later, her first words were, "Did we get them?" "All of them," Adunni confirmed. Kingsley and his entire network. The recording captured everything: names, locations, bank accounts, criminal activities across multiple countries. Dr. Funmi entered the room with rows and patients behind her. "The news is everywhere," Dr. Funmi reported. The police arrested 15 people in coordinated raids across Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. They found evidence of romance scams, cybercrime, money laundering, and human trafficking. Human trafficking. Chioma tried to sit up, wincing with pain. "Some of the women they scammed weren't just robbed," Rose explained. "They were trafficked internationally after being convinced to travel for fake business opportunities or marriages." Patients held up a tablet, showing news coverage of the raids. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission says this is the largest romance scamming operation they've ever uncovered. Over 200 victims across 15 countries. And it all started because he refused to stay quiet about one cheating man, Dr. Funmi added. As they talked, Adunni's phone buzzed with message after message. "Sister, thank you for saving my daughter. She was planning to travel to Dubai to meet a man she thought loved her. The foundation helped me identify a scammer before I lost my life savings. You are heroes. I reported my abuser because I saw your courage on TV. He was arrested today." Commissioner Adeyemi arrived that evening with final updates. Kingsley is in custody, along with his entire organization. We recovered over 120 million naira in stolen funds, which will be returned to victims. More importantly, we've identified and warned potential victims in 12 countries. Is it really over? Chioma asked. This chapter is over. But ladies, you've started something that's bigger than any of us realized. He showed them reports from other African countries where similar organizations were forming, inspired by Sisters United. Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, Senegal, women everywhere are creating networks to protect each other from romance scammers and financial predators. Adunni looked around at these women who had become her family. 6 months ago, she had been a broken, betrayed woman seeking revenge. Now she was part of a movement that was transforming how African women protected themselves and each other. What happens now? She asked. Chioma smiled despite her injuries. Now we heal, we rebuild, and we keep fighting. Because somewhere out there, another woman is about to discover her man is cheating, or another sister is about to lose her savings to a smooth-talking criminal. And when that happens, Dr. Funmi added, she won't face it alone. From betrayal to victory, from victims to victors. But every ending is also a beginning. Next chapter will show you how these brave women's story becomes a legacy that changes lives across Africa. This is a final chapter of Adunni's incredible journey, but it's also the beginning of something much bigger. Hit subscribe and share this story because every woman needs to hear what happens next. 1 year later, Adunni stood on the stage of the Eco Convention Center in Lagos, looking out at an audience of over 2,000 women from across Africa. The first annual Sisters United Continental Conference was larger than anything she had imagined possible. 12 months ago, she began, I caught my fiancé cheating with my sister. I thought my story was about betrayal and revenge. I was wrong. My story was about discovering that my pain had a purpose, and that purpose was protecting my sisters. The audience erupted in applause. In the front row, Chioma sat with her 2 children, who wore matching Sisters United T-shirts. Dr. Funmi, Rose, and Patience occupied the VIP section, along with women who had traveled from Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, and beyond. Today, Sisters United operates in 23 African countries. Adunni continued. We prevented over 400 romance scams, helped prosecute 6 to 7 criminals, and provided support to more than 3,000 women who discovered they were not alone in their pain. Behind her, the giant screen showed statistics that told the story of their impact. 847 women saved from financial fraud, $12 million in prevented losses, 156 criminal prosecutions, 23 countries with active chapters, 89,000 members continent-wide. But numbers don't tell the full story, Adunni said, gesturing to a woman in the 3rd row. Amina from Ghana, stand up. A young woman stood, tears in her eyes. Amina was about to send her university tuition to a man she met online who claimed to be a businessman in London. Our Ghana chapter helped her discover he was actually a married man in Accra running scams from an internet cafe. The audience applauded as Amina waved. Grace from South Africa. An older woman stood up. Grace lost her retirement savings to a romance scammer, but she didn't let shame silence her. She started our Cape Town chapter and has personally saved 43 women from similar fates. More applause. And finally, Adunni's voice grew emotional. My sister Kimi. Kimi stood up from the audience, no longer the confused young woman who had betrayed her family. She wore a Sisters United staff badge and carried herself with new confidence. Kimi made a terrible mistake, but she turned that mistake into a mission. She now leads our prevention education program, visiting universities across Nigeria to teach young women how to recognize and avoid romance scammers. As Kimi waved to the crowd, Adunni saw pride and redemption in her sister's face. The lesson of our movement is simple, Adunni continued. Every betrayal can become a breakthrough. Every wound can become a weapon against injustice. Every sister who finds the courage to speak up makes it easier for the next woman to find her voice. After the conference, the founding members gathered at Adunni's new house in Banana Island, purchased with funds from the book deal that told their story. I have news, Commissioner Adeyemi announced as he joined their celebration. The United Nations wants to make Sisters United an official partner in their global campaign against gender-based financial violence. What does that mean? Rose asked. International funding, resources, and most importantly, legitimacy. Romance scamming will be recognized as a serious crime that targets women specifically because of their gender. Chioma raised a glass of wine. To Emeka Okafor, wherever he is, without his betrayal, none of this would exist. To Emeka's victims, Adunni corrected, without their courage to speak up, none of this would matter. They drank to that. As the evening wound down, Adunni found herself on a balcony overlooking Lagos, the city lights twinkling like earthbound stars. Chioma joined her. Any regrets? Chioma asked. Adunni thought about the question. A year ago, she had been planning a wedding to a man she thought loved her. She had been focused on being chosen, being married, being enough for someone who was never worthy of her. None, she said finally. Not even the pain. Especially not the pain. Because the pain led me to you, to all of you, to purpose bigger than myself. Her phone buzzed with a message from a woman in Morocco. Sister, I think my boyfriend is lying about his job. Can someone help me investigate? Adunni forwarded the message to their North Africa coordinator with a note. New sister needs help. Priority response. Within minutes, her phone showed that support was being mobilized, background checks initiated, local counselors contacted, safety planning begun. It never ends, does it? Chioma observed. Good. It shouldn't end. As long as predators exist, sisters need to stick together. They stood in comfortable silence, two women who had found strength in each other and purpose in their pain. What's next? Chioma asked. Adunni smiled, thinking about the proposals on her desk, a documentary deal, a government consulting contract, speaking invitations from around the world. Next, we keep growing, keep fighting, keep protecting our sisters wherever they are. As if summoned by their conversation, Dr. Funmi, Rose, Patience, and Kimi joined them on the balcony. Group photo, Rose announced, holding up her phone. For the Sisters United Instagram, our followers want to see the women behind the movement. They arranged themselves around Adunni, arms linked, faces showing the confidence that comes from surviving storms and emerging stronger. Say Sisters Forever, Rose instructed. Sisters Forever, they shouted in unison. As the camera clicked, Adunni realized this was a moment her true life had begun. Not when she caught Emeka cheating, not when she got revenge, but when she discovered that her greatest strength came from lifting up other women. The caption Rose posted later that night read, 1 year ago, we were victims. Today, we are victors. Tomorrow, we are the voices that ensure no woman faces betrayal alone. Sisters United. Sisters Forever. #Women supporting women. #Sisters United. #Never alone. The post went viral within hours, shared by women across 6 continents who recognized themselves in these faces, these stories, this unbreakable bond of sisterhood forged in the fires of betrayal and tempered by the strength of standing together. And in Lagos, as the city slept, 5 women who had found each other in their darkest moments continued planning how to light the way for sisters they had never met but would never abandon. Because that's what sisters do. And that's how a single act of betrayal became a movement that changed the world for women everywhere. Thank you for joining Adunni's incredible journey from victim to victor. If this story inspired you, please subscribe, share, and remember, you are never alone. Sisters Forever. Purple Heart. The end. Thank you for watching this incredible story of betrayal, revenge, and redemption. If you enjoyed this content, please subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and share this video with other strong women in your life. Your support helps us bring more empowering stories to light. What did you think of Adunni's journey? Let us know in the comment below, and don't forget to check out our other amazing African folk tales and contemporary stories. Until next time, remember, every ending is a new beginning.